Hey, Lee with LG Speed and Custom here, and in this video we are installing this Thickstun PM7 intake manifold on my Ford Model A Roadster. So I've been wanting to put this Thickstun intake on my car for, when did I buy this? Over 10 years ago. I've had it for over 10 years now, and it just everything's so busy, it's just never happened. Until now, I'm doing it now. Currently, the car has a Y-end tri-power on it that has been on it for like 13 years now. And so the two main reasons why I want to change it out is this is a much older intake. This is like a pre-war style intake. It was one of the first like really popular race intakes made for flathead V8s. This one is a little bit newer, and that one just fits the era of the car better. So that's one reason why I want to swap it out. The other reason is, so currently I only have one carburetor running on this, and two reasons for that. The main one is this carburetor recently, something went weird in here. One of these in the body, the threads in this body are all gulled up and fuel just sprays out of there like crazy. So I blocked the two outside carburetors off so that that one doesn't spurge fuel out everywhere. And the other reason is it runs terrible with all three carburetors. It's when you're like honking on it, it's great. Full throttle, it pulls. Just putzing around town, runs terrible. So with that Thickstun intake only having two carburetors, I'm hoping that I can leave both carburetors hooked up all the time, and it will be manageable on the street, but still be able to give me like more fuel and acceleration when it's time to go fast. So the Langley Loafers old time drags at Mission Raceway are coming up right away, and I'm trying to prep the car for that. And that's one of the things I want to do, is get that sorted out. And then after that is the Estranged drags in Washington State that we're going to go to. So it's time to make this car faster, go from street mode, I guess, into race mode. So some of the things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to redo all this fuel line here. So I've got a bunch of fittings to redo that. We're going to have to redo the throttle linkage because the new carburetors are going to be up higher. The throttle linkage needs to be redone on this anyways. It's never ever worked properly. I've got two options for that. I did pick up a spoon pedal at a swap meet recently that we can make that work. If not, I do have a cable that we can put in. We'll see how that goes. I'm not going to worry about that right now. We'll just get the intake swapped and on for the moment. Once the intake is done, probably won't be in this video, but this is a Chevrolet distributor that is being modified to fit in a Ford flathead. And I put that in years ago. I was having ignition problems, so I put that in just to like see if that solved my problem, and it did not. It ended up just being a bad ground, but that's a whole nother story. So anyways, I want to put this distributor back in. This is a Mallory Mag Spark that was in the car for years. And now that I know that distributor wasn't what was causing my problems, I want to put that back in, as well as just giving it like a little tune-up. These plugs and wires are 5 years old, so I've got new ones coming for that. But that'll be later. Right now we're just going to focus on swapping this intake. So we'll start pulling this apart. I've already taken the radiator support rods off. Pull the fuel lines off, pull the intake off, put it over on the bench, and then start swapping everything over to our Thickstun intake. There's the Y-end intake off and on the bench. You'll notice it's not sitting flat. And that's because underneath here, I've got a 6AN fitting tapped into the bottom of the intake that goes to a PCV valve. And that PCV valve sits in this little grommet right here, which goes down to where the original road draft tube used to connect. So there's your little tech tip of the day on how to put a hidden PCV system in your 8BA flathead Ford. All right, I'll take these guys off. These are so ugly. I've never ever liked them. I'd put them on just because at the time I had nothing else to put on and I didn't want to run just open exposed carburetors down the road. That being said, I've had plenty of time to get something not ugly, and I just haven't. Never have. That's the problem with building so many cars at the same time. Okay, air cleaner's off. Take our linkage. This was for everyone that says, oh, you just got to run progressive linkage on here. Well, here it is. I had progressive linkage on here. Still ran terrible. I don't know. I didn't spend a lot of time playing around with jets or anything like that. Tuning is not my strong point. I do the best I can, though, for a millennial. All right, what else we got? That guy, does that fit? Nope. Nope. Gotta go bigger. Okay, throttle linkage off. Let's pull some carburetors and the fuel pump off. I just washed everything up in the parts washer. Here we can do a side-by-side comparison of the Y-end versus the Thickstun PM7, and as you can see, it is a monster compared to that. This is like early tunnel ram kind of stuff. So I guess our first thing that we need to do is, if we flip these over, you can see right there is the hole that I drilled for the PCV system. If we take our gasket, you can see here, I had to cut the gasket out for the PCV. Yeah, I guess it goes this way. I had to cut the gasket out for the PCV assembly to go through. But yeah, I think the first thing we need to do is drill a hole in here and then tap it so that this 90-degree fitting will fit in there, and then we can thread this together. While we're drilling and tapping that, probably gonna take all these carburetor holes and the fuel pump holes and we'll just chase them as well. They, just from the naked eye, they look to be in really good shape. There should be studs in there, but I don't have studs, so we'll just put bolts in. Bolts are a little bit easier to put together anyways. So yeah, I gotta figure out what thread this is. So that fitting is 1/4-inch pipe thread, which means we need to drill a 7/16 hole here. So it's a little thin in there. Hopefully it's okay. I think we could, if we had to, get the nut on the back side of that, this nut here. If not, if that doesn't work and I don't feel like it's gonna be okay, I do have a bung here that we can weld in there, an aluminum bung, but I wanna try just drilling and tapping it first, because that's what I did on the other one and it worked really good. So I know there's gonna be some bench racers telling me how this is gonna interrupt the flow and everything and possibly create a lean situation on these two cylinders. And it might, it very well might. In my experience though, because I've done this PCV trick a lot, And I've never ever noticed like any lean conditions on 2 cylinders because of it. So, you know, I'm just gonna keep doing it. I think we're thick enough that we can tap that. It's about the same as the other one was. So if I was like super concerned about making this thing super fast and efficient and not interrupting any of this, you know, I definitely would not do this. I would probably just put a 6-liter LS in it with a big old turbo on it and go faster than all you flathead guys. All right, let's see how this feels. If I can get it started, there we go. Oh yeah, that feels good. Tightens up. All right, I'm confident with that. I think it'll be just fine. We'll put that in after. I'm gonna chase all these holes and then blow all the shavings out of there. Start putting them back together. I've got some red Loctite. I'm gonna thread this thing in. Oh no. Oh no, we're okay. I thought I spilt a bunch because my lid won't come apart. So I did a little bit of research on this just to get my facts straight, and it's not a pre-war intake. It came out, from what I read, sounds like it came out in 1945. And another interesting thing I read about it is Hot Rod Magazine years back did a dyno test with this intake and a couple other ones, and apparently this one, compared to the Edelbrock Slingshot, the Edelbrock Slingshot made 18 more horsepower on the dyno, which is incredible for an engine that only makes, like, stock they're 100 horsepower. The one in my car is probably, if I was to guess, 140 horsepower. So that's a big difference. I might keep my eye out for, oh man, I forgot to put the jam nut on. Do I need the jam nut? I might not need the jam nut. We might be okay. Do I have room? I don't even have room for the jam nut. It's okay. It'll be fine. Boom, done. Maybe I can get it on the backside. Anyways, I'm gonna kind of keep my eye out for a slingshot, Edelbrock Slingshot, and maybe we'll swap that one out later. Depends. I might blow the whole rear end up in this car at the drag races and then just come up with a totally new plan. Okay, so I've got this in where I'm happy with it. I've got the gasket on, and I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna clean that first. I was gonna say, I'm gonna put this together in the car rather than building it on the bench, just because it's a little bit easier to manhandle it down in there. Especially because it's critical that that little PCV valve gets back in its hole where it's supposed to go. Okay, slide that down over the fuel pump. We're in. Boom. Okay, we'll bolt that back down. We'll put our spark plug wires back in where they got to go. I had an offset generator mount on here that we probably don't need to use anymore. I think I've got a regular one upstairs. So yeah, I'll switch to time lapse and bolt this back down. All right, it's bolted on there. Wow, does it ever look cool? Those carburetors are so high. I love it. It's great. So it does have its weird things, which is to be expected when you're doing hot rod stuff. Fuel pump sits cocked a different angle than before. This used to line right up with here. Not a huge deal though, because I don't know if you remember last year when we were prepping it for this event and we put a fuel filter in there, we had to splice a little bit of rubber in there to get this fuel line to work with this fuel filter. So we can just extend this a little bit longer, which will work in our benefit anyways, because the lady that did tech, she did not like this hole. So we got to do something about that as well. Where the old time drags are, it's an NHRA track, so it's got to pass NHRA tech. And yeah, no holes in the firewall. They let it slide, but I should fix it for this year. The other weird spot we have is this fuel line naturally runs right in the way of this rad hose. I don't like these rad hoses anyways. This has been on my list of things to fix for the last 13 years, as I want to make like stainless or copper hard lines in there with just a little bit of rubber on each end. So it'll work for now. I can push it down enough that I'll be able to get a fuel line on, but we'll have to address that in a bit. I don't know if any of these old fuel lines, like we might be able to use that one and that one. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we get there. If not, I do have some 5/16 copper nickel line. This is like pure copper line, which is technically not DOT approved, but whatever, it works. So if we can't use this, we'll just replace it with copper nickel because it looks just as cool and it is DOT approved. So that's where we're at. Okay, so here's our offset generator mount. I have this upstairs. You guys remember this amazing contraption that came off my 32 on how to put a GM style alternator in a stock generator mount? All you need is, all this stuff and boom, it just fits right in. Not very well at all, but hey, it worked. It never fell out. So I'm gonna separate these and hopefully use this with that to make one. So our generator bracket worked out fine. So it worked great because this is just a stock like 8BA truck style generator bracket. So it all just went back together like factory. We got our generator wires hooked up. Did have to go to a shorter belt with the offset generator mount. I had a 57-inch long belt. Now we got a 56-inch long belt. Fan went back together as is. So now we'll move on to our fuel lines. Before I make all brand new lines from scratch, I'm gonna take these lines apart and see if I can, reuse any of it. Like the spacing on those two work out okay, which makes me wonder if I can take put this end on here and have it go into this end here, and I don't know. I'll take it apart and try a couple of variations. Worst case scenario, we can just make new stuff with the copper nickel. So that's not too bad there. I think if we shorten this one a little bit, that'll get us to there. And then we got to do a big shot from here down to our fuel pump here, which I don't know if I have enough copper to do it. I think it might be weird if I use copper combined with copper nickel, even though they look pretty similar. I think side by side it will be noticeably different. Well, none of this is gonna work because I can't shorten this anymore because there's no room, there's no more room left in here to put a flaring tool in it to shorten it. That's as short as we can go. So I'm just gonna grab this roll of copper nickel and we'll just make new stuff and it'll be great. All right, all our fuel lines are done. I remade everything except for this one. This one I just kind of rebent it a little bit and it worked out fine. It goes back into our fuel filter up there. We still have this hole that the lady that teched me last year was not happy about, but we'll worry about that later. Right now I just want to get this thing running again. So let's turn the fuel on and we can probably start this thing now and see how many fuel leaks we have. We've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new fittings. So, I mean, at least one of them's got a leak, right? Oh yeah, we got 2 fittings leaking so far. I can't imagine these have fuel because I haven't started it yet and the fuel pump has a pump that's just gravity fed to there. So I'll snug those up, loosen them off, snug them up, loosen them off, and try to get the flare to seat and be happy. Okay, we got our fuel leaks kind of fixed. So let's try to start it. There's still no throttle linkage yet, but we'll figure something out. Just do it by hand, I guess. Oh, I can't start it this way anymore because I don't have a neutral safety, or I have the neutral safety switch now. Okay, we've got dry carburetors. I got the neutral safety switch bypassed. Try that again. Oh, we got a fuel leak again. Coming from the top this time. Okay, well, it runs. We got rid of all our fuel leaks. Had a heck of a time with that one. I had to take it apart again, and when I put it back together, I got a little twist in it, but it's not leaking, so we're gonna leave it because I can live with a twist. I'd rather have a twist than a leak. So, next, throttle linkage and choke. Bloop, 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 bloop. All right, linkage time. So everything that I've researched on this intake, aside from everyone saying it makes 18 less horsepower than an Edelbrock slingshot, it responds best with straight linkage rather than progressive linkage. Progressive meaning one carburetor opens and then the second one opens at a later point. So straight linkage, they both operate exactly the same, which is way easier to set up. So I've got this contraption. The regular viewers will recognize this was one of the throttle linkages that we made on the 32, and it failed miserably and got put in the scrap bin. So I'm thinking if we take this end, and then I've got this piece here, and this guy, and put it on like that, and then take this coupler nut, cut this here, thread them, and then we can thread them together. And that way we can fine tune it to get it like exactly so that they're both throttle plates are closed at the exact same time. So that'll get our carburetors tied together. And then from there, actually I'm gonna keep that hooked up and make a mark on it. Once we get our carburetors hooked together, then we can build a linkage to the throttle pedal. All right, let's cut that guy there and that one right there. Okay, so here is our situation. I made the throttle piece. Works great. Both carburetors are connected together. It's now the next day. It is Saturday evening. I did not work on the Roadster all day today. Instead, Shannon and I and Lux and Doris, somebody said they missed Doris, the four of us went up to the Duncan Forestry Center and went to a antique truck show. Super fun. We had a great time. Awesome time. But that means I did not work on the Roadster at all today. So I did not build any throttle linkage, and now it's Saturday evening, and tomorrow morning, bright and early, we got to get up, and early I say because the Early Ford V8 Club is having their car show tomorrow, and there's a lot of seniors in the Early Ford V8 Club, and they like to get up really early on a Sunday morning to go to this car show. So that means we have to get up really early, and I'm a morning person. I do get up early, but I don't get up that early. There is no reason to line up for a car show at 7 a.m. Anyways, I don't have throttle linkage, and I want to take the Roadster there. So my plan that I thought of today, that we're going to do right now, remember at the Old Time Drags last year when my throttle linkage was broken and I couldn't get full throttle, and I tied a string around the throttle linkage and I would pull on the string with my hand to get full throttle? That was a great system. That's what we're gonna do. We are gonna quickly make a throttle cable out of string that I can use with my hand so that we can drive this car to the car show bright and early tomorrow morning. Okay, we've got our string going through the firewall, coming out over here. Seems to be moving okay. It's at a nice height. So we'll tie it to here, and then it should be good. So I've tied my best double knot on there and then wrapped some electrical tape around the tail just because my double knots aren't the best. I was not a Boy Scout. I played with cars. I think we're good. If we go in here, give this, that feels good. Cool. Should we go for a test drive? Oh man, we gotta move a whole lot of stuff to go for a test drive. All right, let's see if this thing starts. There's no choke hooked up yet. Pump it a couple times. So the throttle sticks a little bit, but that's got nothing to do with the string. I think I should go grab it right now. I think I need another throttle return spring. Like, oh, where did I just put it? Right here. Somewhere. There it is. Actually, it's my current spring is just hitting the accelerator pump rod. There we go. Might have to just give it a twist. So I've rerouted it to a different position here, and we're good now. Goes right back to fully closed. Okay, so I got the camera set up right there. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing, because I can't run this and shift and steer and the camera all at the same time. around the block. It's a little bit of a handful driving. Okay. It's a little bit of a handful driving it, but made it around the block, which means it'll make it to the show tomorrow morning, which is all I care about at this point. After the car show, we'll make it right, I promise. But for now, the car show's not far. It's like maybe a 15-minute drive, mostly on a country road, so there's not a lot of starting and stopping. It's gonna be great, it'll be fine. All right, we'll see you in the morning. Just a reminder for tomorrow morning when we leave. We made it to the show. The throttle linkage worked perfect, no problems at all. My camera mount broke, which is why the time lapse got cut short. Car runs really good with this intake, a lot better than it did with the tri-power. So yeah, we're gonna walk around the car show for a bit and then probably end the video. Okay, so we just got home from the show. Hand throttle worked great. I think maybe we'll just convert it to a hand throttle and not even worry about a throttle pedal. That might be easier. Just kidding, obviously. But yeah, everything worked good. This intake, I'm very happy with it. It's definitely, wow, what do we got going on here? All right, well, we'll worry about that another day. Definitely got some weird stuff going on there. Let's push this a little further forward to catch that. Perfect, problem solved. All right, so yeah, this intake, I'm very happy with it. It performs really good. I mean, I haven't done any tuning. I literally just bolted the carburetors on and we rocked and rolled. So it's got good throttle response. The more I pull on the hand throttle, the better it feels. So according to the butt dyno, this was a win. Next video, we'll obviously build some proper throttle linkage, look into whatever's going on here. And yeah, hopefully we'll get, I ordered new plug wires, and these are actually Model T plug ends. So I got some of those coming from Rick at Noble Speed in New Jersey. When they get here, we'll throw those on. So make sure to hit the subscribe button and notification so that when that video comes out, you know all about it. Thanks everybody for watching. See you on the next video. It's hot out. I'm going to a barbecue now.